Chanukah Sameach. I wanted to think with you briefly about our two rabbinic holidays, Purim and Chanukah. And essentially, Purim, which is created in the early Second Temple period, and Chanukah, which is instated in the later Second Temple period, really give us an opportunity to think about how we humans go about instating our holidays. What are the kinds of moments in our history that we feel are important to connect to the miracle that we feel that God has given us, and how we go about doing that. And in both the case of Purim and Hanukkah, we see that it was a struggle and it was a process in order for these holidays to be instated. And it really took time for their ofi, for their character to be developed. In the story of Megillat Esther, we see that she had to send several letters, that people weren't so keen on really celebrating this as a holiday in those early years. And the way the Gemara presents in a posthumous conversation between Esther and Chazal is that she writes Kitvuni l'dorot and Kiruni l'dorot, that this is something that she has to fight for. She has to fight for Chazal to see this as an important enough occasion to be instated as a holiday. And also in the story of Chanukah, we see that while in the Gemara we really have the element of the Chag of finding the oil and it burning, and that miracle is what takes center stage. Whereas when we open up Sefer Maccabim and our few parallel sources in really the late Second Temple period, we see that the miracle of oil isn't something that's really spoken about, and really it's focusing on this victory, a victorious moment in a longer war which didn't end as positively, but on that, in that moment, and choosing that moment to highlight and to thank God for the miracles. And I think about this a lot. I'll be honest, I think about it a lot when it comes to Yom Ha'atzmaut, which is sort of a modern version of a holiday that we have created. Well, it was created in a civic setting. Many of us religious people that feel that this is a miracle, that the establishment of the state of Israel is a miracle worth preserving and speaking about and thanking God for, meaning preserving that moment as a miracle. I think about this a lot because when it comes to these debates about how we celebrate it, what we do, what we say, I actually feel very at one very often with Chanukah and with Purim, because all of these three holidays, and yes, in my eyes, all three religious holidays, really cut to the core of this question of when we're initiating our own holiday, how do we go about remembering it? What are the parts of it that we want to sort of showcase to ourselves and maybe also to the world? And I think that when it comes to Hanukkah, it's very clear that we have two parts. We have the part of the mikdash, we have the oil, and we have the part of the military victory. But different groups sort of felt the strength of those two parts in different ways. And I think that it can be really instructive. Both I find it comforting in terms of seeing how a holiday develops and its character develops over time. And again, I think about that in the modern context of Yom Ha'atzmaut, which for many is a religious holiday as well. And I also feel that it really empowers, and it brings us right back to the original psukim about Rosh Chodesh Lechem, that this is something that we, in that case, Beit Din, has to create, that when it comes to our holidays that are not the main the Shloshat Regalim, that we have this ability in our hands to figure out how to remember, how to commemorate. And we also this year felt that strongly when it came to the first year from Simchat Torah, or from October 7th, that we are still in that movement now of how do we go about doing that. Now, maybe it's not necessarily in a religious holiday, but to me, these are all movements that are related to one another. And when I look at Hanukkah as it stands today, and how beautiful of a chag it is, and how many elements it has to it, and how many different things we could highlight, it gives me a lot of hope in terms of how much agency we have over the ways we try and speak about, remember, and feel connected to the miracles we perceive in the world, even in a world where God isn't overt, but that we're able to commemorate that involvement in a way that reminds us that God is always with us.